Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to this press conference. We wanted to have this because there's been a lot of misinformation that's been coming out, and we're getting a lot of calls. So run of show is what's going to happen is we're going to have the police chief come up, talk about what's happening. I'll give some closing statements, and then from there we'll take questions. Okay? Thank you. Chief.
Good morning. I'm a little frustrated today that we're having this conversation. Basically, I'll go through what we have at this point, and I know my heart goes out to family, and my heart goes out to a lot of parents that are concerned, and I think the mayor and I are both going to address that. But what we have this morning is that around 7 a.m., there was a shot spotter activation. That's our technology that picked up on shots fired. Officers responded. Calls began to come in. In the 700 block of Gloucester Drive, in the apartment complex, we located a juvenile male. He is 17 years old. He was suffering from a gunshot wound. Officers immediately rendered some aid. He was then transported to an area hospital where, regrettably, he later lost his life. Family members came there and were notified. So the next of kin has been notified as family. At that point, information begins to come through. Officers, our forensics teams are at the scene. They've canvassed. They have recovered evidence. We've canvassed the neighborhood and starting to talk to individuals that we know saw what happened. And it's my ask today that people come forward and share what information they have. There's been a lot of miscommunication and a lot of information. I understand that. People get concerned and worried. We've heard this, we're hearing that. And so one of the reasons we wanted to share everything up, I have met with our detectives. As a matter of fact, the mayor sat in on the briefing just before we came down here on what we have at this point and where we're going. But it is a tragedy to lose any loss of life. But when we start talking about youth and teenagers, we're at another conversation. And I think the mayor's going to hit on that in his comments. But I wanted to share a little bit with you. I'm going to step out of the way, Mayor, and then if you want to take questions, we'll go from there. But that's where we're at this point. We have talked to schools in the area. I will tell you that right now we do not tie this to an incident that happened at the school. There's been some information flowing about that. Is this school related to something happened? We're not tying this to an incident or a situation that has happened inside or at the schools. This was not at a bus stop. That's not a bus stop related issue. This is an individual that was in a neighborhood. Other individuals were there, and then the shooting occurs. So I'm going to step out of the way, turn it over to the mayor, and then if there's some questions, we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I want to double down on what Chief said. This is not school affiliated in any way. These seem to appear to be targeted. These are not random acts of violence. That being said, in any time that someone loses their life is a tragedy. This is unacceptable in the city of Newport News, and this has to stop. And this is more than just one individual or the police chief, or this is the entire community coming together. So what I have, the call to action that I have for you is, if you see something, please let us know. All right? We have individuals that are trying to go to school. We have an amazing community, but I refuse to let these acts of violence characterize our city in a negative light. This is a great place to live, to work, and to raise your family, and this has to stop. And so I'm calling on all of the community leaders. I know there were groups that were formed years ago, but we have to ensure that the safety of our young people is the most important thing. It has to be the paramount thing here at Newport News. I'm tired of getting the phone calls in the morning. I'm tired of going down to the scene. This is on parents. This is on families. There is no excuse for not knowing what your child has in their bedroom. If someone lives in your house, you should know exactly what they're doing. This is on the family. This is on the parents. This is on the city. We need everyone to come together. I know there's been a lot of activities that have happened at football games, at other locations. We have to come together as a city. We refuse to let one or two incidents define our city. With that, we'll have Chief come back up and we'll take questions together. Thank you.
Chief, do we have any motivation for this shooting? We know what you have said it's not, but what is it?
So I would tell you, I don't want to do anything to jeopardize the case. I haven't been able to sit down and have a conversation with our Commonwealth attorney yet. That'll happen later today. There's another briefing for myself and the detectives, other individuals in the department, and I want to make sure that our school resource officers are locked in. You know, it bothers me to see individuals that lose their life, but when we parents that are concerned and calling it, I want to make sure that we're clear that it is not a school-related issue, right? But I will say this, sir. The incident that happened last week and the incident that happened today, where 2 individuals in our city lost their lives, both of those cases will be solved. We have good information coming in. There's some things that may take place later this afternoon. As soon as we finish here, I'm going to get another briefing on the other side of the house in this department. Both of those cases are going to be solved. That's not going to be tolerated in this community. We've seen that from our homicide reduction this year. But even though those great reductions, those are still people. They're neighborhoods and communities. And as much as the mayor doesn't like getting those calls, I don't like making them. And I don't like seeing communities' faces and young people talking about violence that they're seeing. That it can't continue, and people are going to be held accountable.
And let's make it clear for everyone watching that the incident today had nothing to do with the incident last week.
So there is, at this point where we're doing our investigation, I'm not going to rule anything out. Like I said, we're what, two or 3 hours in? I need to understand who was there, names, what we have from cameras, who's associated. So I don't want to walk that line yet. I just need the information. The reason there's not a lot of detectives in the room is because they're all tracking down those leads, right? You know that we've seen some things in other communities, other states where school threats are coming through. Some people may think that's funny. We don't take that as a joke here. There's going to be some charges that are brought for those things that are happening. As they continue, right, we've got to work through those. So I want to go through each one of those things individually and rule them out. We've got to, Captain Petrosky was just talking about earlier, we've got to work just as hard to rule something out as to rule what's actual. So I don't want to draw that line yet.
Well, let me get clarification on that, because there was word going around that they were related. Are we saying that it is possible that what happened today was a revenge attack for what happened last week?
I want to be very clear. I'm not ruling anything out. We will go where the facts lead us. And I know there's community concern there, but I'm not going to heighten that or lessen that until we've got a good understanding of what we have. And it would be wrong, premature to address any of that right now before we have all the facts and information.
Chief, could you clarify, you said this is not school affiliated, right? And obviously the nature of it being so close to Heritage High School is a lot of social media comments.
Yes, sir.
Trying to make that connection. But just given the age that it's a 17-year-old, are you also saying that they're just not even students of the division, or are they students of another division? Like, can we just clarify?
So when I say not school related, we're not tying this to an event that's happened at the school that has spilled over into the community. They are from last weekend, this week, they are juveniles, right? They do go to school in our community. So when I say school, there's not an incident that I can tie that, hey, this happened in the school and it spilled over. I know that they're young people. And the mayor and I were both at the high school this morning. And I saw kids' faces in that hallway, and I saw parents taking their kids out of school. And that bothers me. I want the students that are going to school here that are getting an education know that they're safe being in our schools, and they're going to be safe in these communities, and these acts aren't going to be tolerated. The threats that come through that people may think it's funny to send, we're going to send a threat about a bomb threat, right? It's changed a lot from when I was a young person. It was a fire alarm, right? When you talk about it, it's looked at differently today. People are going to be held accountable.
So you describe not only the victim, but the group, the others in this situation. They are juveniles.
It appears, but we're still working through that.
Was the 17-year-old on his way to school?
I don't want to get into whether he was going or had left. We're still working through all that.
And the suspect, what you can tell us, was that also a teenager that was on his way to school?
There's a lot of information coming through, Andy, that they're working through. We need to sit down and go through that and verify it. I don't want to put something out here that jeopardizes any case, or that, hey, Chief, you told us this and it's that. You've got to remember we're only a couple hours into this.
And we'll go to Coulter in a minute. I just want to make it clear, we were both at the school, and the reason we're having this is because there's been a lot of ages, and there's just confusion, and our job is to ensure that we cut through the chaos and the confusion and to make sure that we have everything accountable. And so we're having this because there were parents that came to me and said, like, Mayor, like, this is unacceptable, we have to fix this. And so the call is really to the community, right? We can only do so much. We need to ensure that all hands are on deck, especially parents. If it appears like there is a juvenile doing these activities, juveniles doing these activities, this starts in the home. This starts in the family. This starts in the church. We have to get a hold of that. Coulter.
Two questions. Was this student a student at Heritage High School? And can you tell us any more about the shooting specifically? Was it inside, outside? And then what do people in this community need to be concerned about? Because obviously no one's been arrested yet, so we've got, in theory, a shooter on the loose. So do people who live in the community need to be worried that they could be next?
So I don't think this is we know this isn't a random act, right? The shooting did happen outside. There's some video floating around that and that's why we know that people were there that saw some things. There's some video floating around, bits and pieces of officers responding and in fact rendering aid to this young man, right? As we go through, I'm going to hold back on where this individual attends school. I want to make sure that I have a conversation with family members before I put anything out. The school system, I think, has already put some information out. We did talk with Dr. Mitchell this morning. She's been fantastic. As we've got off to some tragic events this last 7, 8, 10 days, right? That our school events, our football games. I have enjoyed, I've been to every one of those games. I've enjoyed that. The city managers walked those games with me. The mayor's been to those games with me. We are making progress. Should your question is, should someone be concerned? I think anyone who takes someone's life, and we haven't made an arrest yet, that would always concern me. But we don't have someone that's random going around and shooting or popping off rounds. We have an individual or individuals that were looking for someone today. They found them. There was some type of altercation, gunshots, and someone lost their life. And we don't believe that that is a random act, that they were there for a reason.
Mayor, I had a question for you. I know that you are, trying to make a plea to parents right now to make sure, they know where their kids are.
The whole community, yeah.
Right. But from your seat and your perspective, I mean, you're now seeing 2 shootings of this magnitude just as school starts, and I'm curious if this is eliciting any gears in your head of how you can, how the city council or how the elected leaders here in Newport News could, get ahead of this,
Yeah.
Just as you're seeing it.
We've made this the year of the youth here in Newport News. We have our Thrive program. We did a lot of summer programming and activities. And I know Chief already mentioned it, but we are down tremendous, year over year on our homicide rate. But to me, that doesn't matter. It's, the individual loss of life. As a young black man, it affects me as well, especially when we see the majority of these individuals are young black men in our community. Council is lockstep with the school board and with Chief in making sure that we have all the funding necessary, whether it's our 24/7 rec centers or Achievable Dreams or all of the other programming. We can have the budget, but we're going to need everyone to come together to make sure that this does not become a habit here in Newport News. And it's not, right? And I refuse, and I know months ago, people reported on learning loss across the Commonwealth. I refuse to let these events affect what's happening to young people in Newport News. The goal of this is you should be able to get an amazing education, to go off, to serve your country, to do the shipyard, to go to college, whatever it is. All of this serves as distraction. And so it's my job, it's our job to ensure that we remain focused on the right things. So we'll be out there at the football games. We'll make sure that we will find these individuals not school adjacent or affiliated in any way, and we're going to make sure that there's justice done and that we have a safe community.
Was this 17-year-old, was he a Heritage High School student? Are we saying that?
So I'm going to have some conversation with family personally myself before we put anything out about where this young man went to school.
And can you
I
once again confirm?
think that's fair to our community and especially the family.
Can you say you went to the school this morning? Are you talking about Heritage?
We did because of the proximity, yes, sir.
And you said you want to clear up the confusion, but part of the confusion was the questions I was asking, because that had been floating around. For the record, what is the confusion you wanted to clear up?
So the first call I got, hey, we understand there's 2 victims that have lost their lives. That's not accurate. We understood that something may have happened inside. Did something happen to the school? There's been spillover, something here has happened, it's ongoing. It's just some of those confusions. The reason that we're here together today is to explain some of that. And I would be remiss. I believe the schools have been fantastic.
Yeah.
I have had multiple people in the community and school officials, superintendent. The schools are fantastic partners. I think it goes back to what we set the tone at the beginning of the year, that we're going to work together and clear up communication. That's one of the reasons that we didn't call. We were at the school this morning. We were at the scene this morning, and there'll be some phone calls made later today. And like I said, Andy, there are some things that are in progress right now that may take place this afternoon. I'm waiting to get briefed on when we finish here.
Oh, what time was this, how to get the first shot?
7 a.m. is when the shot, around 7 o'clock is
So
when
the
those.
students were on their way to school, or they were already in school?
A little bit of both. Some were there and some were being dropped off.
Chief, can you talk about a little bit about just how beneficial the ShotSpotter technology is for you guys? I know that was what led you guys to the scene last week and now again this morning. So how thankful you guys you have this technology for the city?
We'll do this, then we'll close.
I would say that
I got one question.
the technology we have is we were the first in the state to have ShotSpotter. You kind of get out of technology what you put in for it, put what you put into it. I think our mayor and our city manager and city council have been tremendous in helping us with technology. They're always asking, what else do we need? So it alerted us before even a citizen called. Sometimes we don't get citizens that call, right? I think it kind of plays into, we have to take those communities back. But this, the activation of technology is what alerted officers, comes right to their phones or their computers, and they were headed to that scene. And the video that I saw, an officer trying to save that young man's life is because he got there. But I'm telling you, both of these cases will be solved.
Chief, the time of day would indicate that he was on his way to school, right? I mean, 7 o'clock in the morning, school starts at, what, 7:10? So can you say, I mean, you said you're not sure if he was on his way to school, but doesn't the time of day indicate that?
I don't want to draw conclusions, but people sometimes come to school and sometimes they leave, and I think we leave it there for right now.
And the last thing I'll say is we've been in contact with the school board chair, Lisa Searles Law. I know they have some meetings that are going to happen tonight, but what we can do is we can make sure that city council and school board are all united, as well as the police department, to make sure that we take care of our youth in the city. With that, we'll close. Thank you.
Thank you.